If you hate making SOPs but love the idea of them and value the importance of them in your business, this video is for you.
Yeah, and so we're going to overview and demo the good and bad of 3 different AI solutions that were made for automating the creation of SOPs and just make them less mind-numbing to create. We're doing this because we're building ecom brands and diving into all the new AI tools that help us do more for less.
So, my friend and former roommate Chandler Bolt, who runs self-publishing school at selfpublishing.com, recently hit $2 million months without any big promos or campaigns. And one of the phrases I love that I got from him back in the day when we would do these Monday night masterminds was the concept of own your pants and clone your pants, which is a really cool sort of spirit and phrase to keep in mind when it came to SOPs. And I think what's interesting when it comes to SOPs now is there's AI solutions available for SOPs. And I think, the integration of them into businesses is something that's worth looking into to the degree to which they can actually help us with making things more repeatable, saving us time, taking things that humans used to need to do but no longer should be doing, so that we're not dehumanizing ourselves or them. So I think it's really interesting for us to take a look at some of these options. And so I know, Alfred, you've taken a look at some of them, 3 of them that seem to be the most popular right now at this time of recording in June of 2023, that I think would be interesting to get sort of your take on, because there is, I think, to some degree, one thought of AI could solve everything and save everybody time with everything that we ever do and, make everything instantaneous. But then there's also the other degree, which is, well, how much can this really help us? And does it actually save us time, or does it sort of create a little bit more work for us that then we have to fix? So I'm curious to know on what level of the spectrum, reality really is when it comes to using these tools and trying them out to see how much they can really help us with optimizing our processes and in our businesses.
Yeah, I think probably to start is the AI implemented in these tools isn't as much the type that's super popular right now, which is the generative AI, right? I think a lot of the AI that's incorporated in these tools is more process driven. So it's kind of understanding what it is that you're doing when you're clicking around. And maybe there's a little bit of generative AI in terms of the steps that are created. But, we'll get into that a little bit more in detail, because we'll have a little bit of a demo to show on the 3 different tools that we looked at, which were Tango, Dubble, and Scribe. But I think just kind of overall, when we look at these, they can be really useful because it allows you to, similar to a Loom, record the steps that you're taking when you're doing some sort of process. So, with a Loom, you can record a video and you can talk through it and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And it takes that and it transforms it into a document that you can actually share with other people, and you can kind of follow along with it in a document format. I think it has a lot of use for certain types of people, and a little bit less for others. So for example, if you're someone that kind of does repetitive tasks, but you don't like to write what you're doing down, you're a little bit more, you keep things in your head, then I think this is a tool that could really help that type of person because it just automates that documentation process for you, and gets you to a place where you're maybe 80% of the way there. If you're someone who likes to sort of document things, then it has a little bit less value, because it may not be to the standard that you want it to be, and you have to go in and you have to kind of make the additional edits. So where it saves you time is it saves you time with taking screenshots, and placing those screenshots in a specific order. But then once you have that, you still have to go in. You may need to annotate those images. You may need to make those steps a little bit more descriptive. And so maybe for that type of person, you're only getting a 20% saving, Whereas for the first person, maybe they're getting sort of a you're taking it from 0 to 1, where you had nothing to you actually have something that you could even share with someone, but may not be a completed. It may not be something that you can take to completion on its own.
Cool. And yeah, I think there's a few things that we should probably mention. I think one of them is what are the websites of the three? I think sometimes when people are they're listening to things, at least for me, a lot of brand names tend to have like there's a lot of different brands that have the same domains, and so it'd be cool to just know what they are. So there's Tango, there was Scribble, and there's Scribe and Dribble.
So tango.us, dubble.so, and scribehow.com.
Got it. Cool. And I think the other thing that I didn't really mention before queuing you up was, what function it really helps with. And I think you touched on it. I think maybe we can edit this in, or we can maybe leave it where it is right now. But I think the big function, at least for me, that I was excited about was not having to do the repetitive task of screenshotting it properly and then like collecting the screenshots, ordering it in the right way, writing down the exact step that I took. I think for me, what excited me about it was the ability to just have most of that done, to at least the degree where that mechanical portion of creating the SOP was taken care of for the most part. Like even if the actual description of the step wasn't that clear, or the vocabulary that was used was not that great, I'd be okay with that. I think that's what excited me most about it. And so I think that's really, I guess, what I want to share when it came to what value it could provide to people when it comes to why even pay attention to like these SOP softwares. Is I think that really boring, sort of mind numbing, at least for me, capturing and documentation of things is now has a way to be made in a more automated way, and maybe even a more reliable way. But I think that, I think kicking it back to you, I think it'd be interesting to hear like what your thoughts were around the accuracy of the capturing when it comes to both the visual as well as the steps that it took down. How would you rate it? Not necessarily using numbers, but just a description of, were you happy with it? Were you unsatisfied with it? Just very curious to know.
I think the screenshot capturing part was the best feature. It, at least with the way that I would typically create documentation, I would not be creating screenshots as dense as what these tools would provide. What they're doing is every time you click, it's going to capture something. Whereas if I'm doing it by myself, then it might seem like overkill trying to take a screenshot for every single click that I'm making. So for sure, that part is much better. When it comes to the text of the step that goes along with that screenshot, it leaves a little bit to be desired. When it's being done from a browser using their extension, it's okay. It's like, particularly for simple steps, it's just like, okay, go to this site and click this text there. It'll say something like that. And, for simple types of SOPs, then that's fine. But for those simple types of SOPs, I think sometimes you don't really need that level of detail anyway. And the density of those screenshots may not be necessary in those cases. So I think where, like, some of the questions that come to mind for me are, the type of business that might need this, and how many SOPs do you need to do what you need to do? And I think that really depends for each person or each business. And I think if you have a business that's very, operationally repetitive, and has a lot of different like scenarios that you need to follow, then these tools are going to be really great for that. But if it's more like requiring a little bit of judgment, it requires some thought in what you're doing, and you just need it sort of as a guide to help explain the situation, then it can be helpful, but it's not going to be necessarily game changing. So that's kind of how I see it right now.
Cool. What were the most surprising things on the positive side and then on the negative side that you experienced going through testing some of these guys?
I don't know if there's a surprising thing, positive or negative. What I really liked about them is like all three of them, you can use it for free. So it's like there's no reason that you. I think there's always a place for it in your business, because it can save you, even if it's just a little bit of time saved. Why not, right? It's like you don't have to put any real expense behind it, and it can help you take those screenshots that you otherwise would be doing manually. So I think it's always going to be helpful. I think what's kind of related to that, and I don't know if this is necessarily a negative, but I don't think this is necessarily, at least for our application, I don't see this as necessarily a game changer by any means. It's more like a little useful tool that can make your life a little bit easier. And that's about it.
Do you have any strong recommendation to any of the three that you tested out?
Yeah, I talk about this a little bit more in the demo, but I would recommend, if you're going to use the free version, which means that all of the SOPs that you're going to be creating are going to be browser based, so it's just you going around on a website and clicking around, then I would recommend either Dubble or Tango. Dubble has a couple of additional features that Tango doesn't have on the free version. But if you need to do SOPs where you're recording offline apps, so let's say you use Microsoft Excel or just anything that's not browser based, then I would recommend Tango, because Dubble just does not have that feature yet. They're in beta, so it's probably on the roadmap, but it's just not there. And so in that case, I would go with Tango, and those features that I was talking about in the free version of Dubble, those are available in Tango if you upgrade.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's time to jump into letting people take a look at your testing out of the apps.
All right, let's take a look at it. First, we have Tango. It's free to use, and to get set up, you just need to create an account and install their Chrome extension. Once you've done that, we can start to record. You can just click their Chrome extension here and start capturing. So let's give that a try. What we can do is we'll create a quick documentation on how to download some orders using an app called Data Export. We're just going to use this template here, and you can see as I click around that the workflow is being built. I'm going to just change the time range here, export this file. We've got a file created, and let's end that there. So now that we have the workflow completed, we can take a quick look at it. And as you can see, it's got some steps created and screenshots captured based on where we've clicked. You can edit the text, right? So we can say Shopify admin, for example. And we can go into the images, and we can also edit the images. So let's say we want to add an arrow or add some text. It's very, very easy to do. So you can save that, and there we go. There's also a really cool feature where you can blur. So if you want to hide some more sensitive information, then you can also easily do that. Note that the blur option is only available on the Pro plan for Tango. And it's as simple as that. Now we can go ahead, save the workflow, and you're done. And we're ready to share. So what we can do is we can see what the share link looks like. Let's go into an incognito window so we're not logged in. And this is what it's going to look like. So you can actually click along, take a look at the different steps. We can take a look at the PDF version. That's what that looks like. And we can also copy some of the HTML or Markdown versions and bring that into a different program like Notion. We use Notion a lot. We use it to run our entire business. So let's copy the Markdown version, and that's what that would look like. So a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to share it. You can organize it and create your own library of workflows, whether it's in Tango itself or offline. If you're like us, some of the workflows that you want to create will actually include apps that are not browser-based. With the extension, you're limited to the browser. So if you upgrade to the Pro version of Tango, they actually have a desktop app, which allows you to record workflows offline. So let's do a quick little workflow for that. So it's got a similar option to start recording, and we can, again, go to a new tab. We can go back into Shopify and just repeat the exact same steps, except this time we'll take it a little bit further. And so now we can open Microsoft Excel, and we can continue recording our workflow steps as we work through it. So let's say we want to create a pivot table. We can do that and select the fields that we're looking for. Let's say we want to see how many of each product we've sold. And there we go. We can end our workflow there. So similar to before, we get a workflow, except this time we have steps that also include the steps that we took in Excel, creating that pivot table. And similar to before, you can do all the edits that we needed. So you can just save that and share it with whoever you want to share it with. So let's take a look at their pricing. They've got 3 tiers: Starter, Pro, and Enterprise. Their free version is quite powerful, quite feature rich. Out of everything that we looked at today, the free version can cover all of that except for being able to add the blur into the images during image editing and creating offline workflows. For those, you need to upgrade to Pro, but otherwise, you can get started for free. So if you need to create some documentation, Tango is an excellent option for that. Next, we have Dubble. Dubble is also free to use. Note that they're in beta, so they should be rolling out additional features as time goes on. But the core functionality is very similar to Tango. So to get started, you can add their Chrome extension. This is the screen that you get once you've logged in. Whereas with Tango, they called their documentation workflows. Here, Dubble calls them guides. And to start a new guide, you can click onto the Chrome extension and start recording. Since we've already gone through these steps a couple of times before, I'm just going to speed through this part. So once you've finished recording, you'll get the list of steps and the screenshots. You're able to edit the steps. So in this case, we actually would want to remove this step. Here we can say navigate to Shopify and click on apps, for example. And let's say we want to edit the image. We can add arrows and text like before. And we can also add blurring effects. So we can remove certain information if we don't want that to be seen. So the behavior here is very similar to Tango, just looks a little bit different. One thing you'll see that is different from Tango is that they have this video here. This video is a screen recording of all the steps that we just took when we recorded the guide. It's almost like a Loom video. It adds an extra layer of instruction. This feature is only available on the Pro plan, but if you're on the free version, then it would just be the steps and the screenshots. If you have any needs to create guides with offline apps, unfortunately, Dubble doesn't have that available. I did reach out to their customer support, and it seems like that's something that may come in the future, but at this time, and as they're still in beta, that's just not available. So let's say we want to share this guide now. We can look at the sharing options. You can share with a link. So we can take a look at what that would look like if we were to go into incognito mode. It's got a table of contents on the left side, and overall looks pretty good. We're able to take a look at the PDF version. So let's save that. So this is what the PDF file looks like. And we can take a look at how the Magic Copy or Markdown version looks in Notion. In both cases, these will look the same. So I'm just going to copy that over to Notion, and that's what that looks like. Let's take a look at their pricing. So Dubble has 3 tiers, Free, Pro, and Enterprise. Their Pro version is $12 a month or $3 annually compared to $20 with Tango. But they don't have the offline apps recording, but they do have video and audio recordings that you can be added. So that's one major differentiation between them. Also, their blurring effect is available on their free plan with Tango that you'd have to upgrade to Pro to get that. But otherwise, most of the other features seem very similar, at least from how we tested it. So similar to Tango, this is an excellent option if you're looking to create some documentation, especially on their free plan. And if you don't need offline apps, Dubble is a great place to start. And finally, we have Scribe. It's also free to use. And just like Tango and Dubble, you install their Chrome extension to start to record. Once you've logged in, this will be your homepage. For Scribe, they call their recordings scribes. So Tango uses the word workflow, Dubble uses guides. For Scribe, it's Scribe. There's a couple of different sections here, so you can see their recent files, stats, and some tutorials. So let's record a Scribe. Similar to Dubble and Tango, you go to their Chrome extension and start capture. We'll just speed up through these steps because you've seen them before. So we've now finished capturing the Scribe, and we can take a look at it. It's got steps on where to navigate, where to click. Overall, the steps look very similar to what you'd see in Tango or Dubble. If we wanted to edit the URL, we can change it to something else. So it could be your store name.myshopify.com. Or if we wanted to edit some images, then you have several options available, including creating arrows and text. We also have the same option to redact or blur, and we can finish here. So the behavior is very similar to Tango and Dubble. Note that the editing options, all these annotations are only available in the Pro plan. So unlike Tango and Dubble, where those are available in the free plan, here with Scribe, you have to upgrade before you're able to do any image editing. Now let's say you want to do recording for offline apps. This is available with Scribe, and you can do that once you've downloaded their desktop app. So this is their desktop app. It's identical to their website, but just in the form of a desktop app. So let's start with a new recording, this time incorporating the steps in Excel like we did with Tango. Again, I'm just going to speed through these steps because you've seen them before. Once we're done recording, we will now get our Scribe. And it looks pretty good. Overall, the screenshots are really useful. I think when doing the desktop app, it does require the descriptions to be edited a little bit better because it's typically just saying click here, etc. So it's not as descriptive as it was with the browser extension, but it still captures the screenshots really quickly. And so that's extremely useful, particularly if you want to create procedures with your offline app. We can now take a quick look at sharing. So let's see what options there are available. You can send it by email. You could do a smart embed into these different programs, or you can export. So The sharing options are pretty much the same as they are from Tango and Dubble. We can take a look at what a link would look like. So this is what the shared link looks like, and it looks pretty much the same as it does inside Scribe. So this is a really great way to share your documentation. There isn't a table of contents like in Dubble or Tango. And let's take a look at their PDF. This is their PDF file. Looks pretty nice. And we can try their markdown version so that we can see what it looks like in Notion. And I'll just paste it into Notion. Nice. Looks very similar to Dubble and Tango. Overall, the sharing options available are similar to Tango and Dubble, but the one difference is that on the free version, you only get link and PDF sharing. Now let's take a look at their pricing. So similar as the other two, they've got a free version, a pro version, and enterprise. Their free version isn't as full featured as Tango or Dubble, so you can't edit the images. So that includes the blurring, but also includes adding any annotations like the text or adding the arrows. You're not able to use the offline recording. So on the free plan, Scribe isn't quite as feature rich as the other two options. With Pro, I would say that their features are going to be on par with Tango, except it's just a little bit more expensive at $29 a month instead of $20, but overall has all the features that Tango would have. So they're very much similar if you've upgraded. Overall, Scribe is a great option if you want to record automatic documentation, and you really can't go wrong with any of the three that we've looked at today, Tango, Dubble, or Scribe. Overall, when comparing the three options, you can't really go wrong with any of them. All three are easy to use and generally have very similar features. If all you need is browser recording, then Tango, Dubble, and Scribe can all handle that. If you need desktop recording, then that's going to need to be Tango or Scribe. All three have pretty descriptive steps when recording with the browser, but once you do desktop recording, then that's when you're going to need to step in and need to edit some of those steps a little bit more. Dubble is the only one with video recording, like as if it was a Loom video. So if that's something that you really like, then you'd have to go with Dubble. All three have image editing, but with Scribe, you have to upgrade to Pro in order to get that. Similar with sharing, with Scribe, you have to upgrade to get some of those sharing options. And all three have free versions available. So if you want to just get started, all three, you can use them immediately. If upgrading, Dubble has the cheapest monthly cost, but for our purposes, the reason why we would upgrade is because we wanted the offline recording option, which Dubble doesn't have. So if I'm going to be upgrading, I'd probably only go to Tango and Scribe. And so overall, I'd, if I were to rank the three of them, I'd go Tango first because it has all the options available, except for video recording, which in my opinion isn't something that's necessary. So you can do the offline recording. It has the cheapest price in order to get that offline recording, and has all other features once you've upgraded. Dubble, I'm putting second because if all you need is browser recording, then I'd stick with Dubble because on their free version, you have everything you need with that. Plus, you get the blurring effect that you'd only get if you were to upgrade with Tango and Scribe. And with Scribe, I'd put it third because all the features available there are already available in Tango, and you need to upgrade in order to get some of those features that would otherwise be free with Tango and Dubble, and it just costs a little bit more. Overall, no matter which one you end up choosing, you'll still be able to create documentation much faster than you otherwise would if you were to try to do that manually like we used to.
Thanks for watching to the end of this video. Please like and subscribe to help us out.
If you want help with implementing AI tools into your business, leave a comment with "the prompted" below and we'll reach out.